Hello there, gentle viewers, and welcome to another episode of Alistair Reviews It. And today we are doing my November Quaint TBR. And although this setting may be quaint, these books sure aren't. Today I'm actually not at home, so some of these books might be physical if I brought them with me on my trip, and then some I might have at home, and then like a couple of them are coming out this month, and I am stoked to read them. Starting this list off is Surrender Your Sons by Adam Sass. This is a YA thriller in which the main protagonist is kidnapped by people who are taking him to a conversion camp. And you follow him as he goes to the conversion camp and all the horrors that entails. But there are actually also extra mysteries on this island that he was taken to, and maybe even murder plots. And I've heard very good things. This is actually the book that me and my husband are reading together this month. This is my husband and I's buddy read, and I am definitely looking forward to it. Next I have Crescent City, The House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J. Maas. I have read her Throne of Glass, well, the first book, her first Throne of Glass book, I think, in that series, and it wasn't for me. But then I have recently learned that she wrote that when she was very, very young, and that all her subsequent books are much, much better. This is her first adult high fantasy, and I really wanted to pick it up and see what I thought. Now that I've been removed so much from the time that I read her last work, and she's had so much time herself to further her skills as a writer. So I am very excited about this book. I actually picked it up and I am buddy reading it with Amy Garlitz, the FHS librarian on TikTok. She is a book talker and she puts out some pretty rad content. She's a fellow fan of Brandon Sanderson's Cosmere, and we both decided to pick this up and see how it is, and we're probably going to be doing a live on TikTok about it here soon. I actually don't know much about this book, and I don't want to know too much about it. I kind of want to discover it as I go into it. But I know it follows a protagonist that is half fae called Bryce. She is called Bryce, and I don't know really much else after that. I know that there's going to be some romance and there's going to be some action in this book, and I'm looking forward to it. It's actually pretty big on Book Talk. I haven't seen it on BookTube, but I have seen it on Book Talk, and everybody raves about it all the time. So I'm very excited about this one. Next I have I Darken by Kiersten White. And this is a gender-bent retelling of Vladimir the Impaler with a lot of different creative twists. I am tracking that this is not a historical fiction, it is a high fantasy, and I'm very curious about how the fantasy goes into it. I've read the Slayer duology by Kiersten White. It's her 2 books in the Buffyverse, and I loved them. I thought they were so respectful of the Buffyverse and just kind of carved out a really cool niche little world within a world that all of us Buffy stans really, really, really love. And I know that this is one of her most recommended books. I've seen it recommended across multiple pages, across Book Talk, BookTube, Book Instagram, Book Twitter, so I wanted to pick it up myself. I am really looking forward to this read. I'm actually buddy reading this with Ian Carlos Crawford, and this is our buddy read for November. Next I have The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab. So I can say I've definitely enjoyed V.E. Schwab's writing in the past. A Darker Shade of Magic isn't my favorite series. I've actually never got through the first book, I'll be honest about it. Let me know if I really need to continue on, but I never really got through the book from the first book. But I have read Vicious and I have Vengeful on my TBR. And I really, really liked it, and everybody raves about her writing, and I actually started this about a week ago, and I am loving it. I know that she spent a great deal of time and effort on this book, probably more than all of her other books, and I think that so far with the reviews that are coming in, they are very, very, very well deserved, and I am very excited to finish reading this book. So this book follows Addie LaRue. She is a protagonist that has signed a deal with the devil where she is basically immortal. She can live the rest of her life. She can live on until eternity. However, this blessing is also a curse because she can't leave a mark on this world that she will be walking on. People who know her constantly forget her whenever she enters a room. People don't know who she is, and when she leaves the room, they automatically forget about her. She can't leave anything anywhere without it going back to its original state. If she writes down something on a paper, it disappears. There are immense consequences for making this deal, and I am very excited about finishing this book. It seems very, 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 very original, and it's a vibe I did not know I needed. Next, I have The House in the Cerulean Sea by T.J. Klune. I really enjoyed T.J. Klune's The Bear, the Otter, and the Kid, and I picked this one up as soon as I found out that he wrote a fantasy book. Actually, this was part of my Pride Month TBR, but I never finished it. I've been enjoying kind of delving into it as a palate cleanser over time, but I am finally going to be wrapping it up this month. And The House in the Cerulean Sea takes place in a world where paranormal creatures such as sprites and gnomes and wyverns exist. However, humanity is very afraid of them. Because of that, the kids who are paranormal, the kids who are supernatural, grow up in a child services system. This book follows a child service worker as he goes to a house to go visit these children and make sure that they're good. Next, I have Fires of Vengeance by Evan Winter, and this book is coming out on the 11th of November. I'm gonna grab this book, and once this book comes out, I'm gonna completely let go of everything else and focus entirely on this book. And it is the sequel in the Rage of Dragon series by Evan Winter. The series will actually be a quartet. The first book was amazing. It follows a character, Tao, as he seeks vengeance against something horrible that happened to him. And it's really a book, the first book is a book about pain, and then pain translated through violence. I fell in love with the world he creates. It's an African-inspired high fantasy world, and Tao is at the bottom of this caste system. You really feel for this character. You feel exactly what this character is feeling, and it makes sense, these decisions that he makes. Fires of Vengeance is the highly anticipated sequel I will be picking up here soon. Next is Rhythm of War, the Stormlight Archive 4 by Brandon Sanderson, which is also coming out this month. It's coming out on the 17th, and this is my most highly anticipated read of 2020. I actually anticipate that this might be, if it holds up, my favorite book of 2020. We'll see, but it might be my favorite book of 2020. So the Stormlight Archive for Brandon Sanderson is his, I would say, his banner series in terms of the series that he would be most remembered for after the fact, and it takes place within his universe, his Cosmere universe. You can actually pick up any book in his Cosmere universe and go from there. He makes it super accessible for readers, so you don't have to read 20-something books to actually get into it, and he recommends starting, and I would actually recommend starting with the Mistborn series, which is separate from the Stormlight Archive. But if you like little nuggets, there's little nuggets throughout this entire series, and the Stormlight Archive takes place in a world called Roshar, where there are various different cultures, and we follow, for the most part, we follow all these cultures, but I know beginning these books you follow for the most part the Alethi culture. And the Alethi culture is a war culture. It's a culture of conquest. They know everything through war and through violence. That's how they kind of communicate. That's their diplomacy. But you are introduced to different cultures that Brandon Sanderson creates within this book. It's pretty amazing. The magic system, which is Stormlight magic system, is very inventive. There's basically this huge storm that comes every so often in Roshar, and it fills up gems with light, and certain people are able to suck that lightning in and do magic with them. but the storm also completely obliterates anything in its path. So things are built to withstand the storm, or built in a way that the storm won't exactly affect it. It's actually super inventive. You can definitely tell how much time, decades, he spent crafting this amazing series, and I cannot wait to pick it up on the 17th. Again, just like Fires of Vengeance, I'm going to be dropping everything and just devouring this book. Okay, so lastly, because I finished almost everything on my TBR for October, and then I picked up books after the fact, except for the House of Leaves, because I'm pushing House of Leaves to next October. I am adding 2 more books, not necessarily to my TBR, but these are books that would and maybe will be on my December TBR, that if I actually finish all of these other books, who knows, I'll get to. So I have Ready Player 2 by Ernest Cline, and this book is actually also coming out this month. It is the sequel to the highly acclaimed Ready Player 1. I really loved the first book. I read it months before the movie came out, and I was ecstatic about the movie. The movie was good. The book is most definitely better, and it's even for people who didn't grow up in the 80s, it's such a nostalgia high, I would say. And it's funny that it's like a nostalgia high, even though it's a futuristic book, but a lot of its constraints are 80s. It's all like while you're within the web of the world, it's a VR world, and it's a VR world that is heavily draws on the nostalgia of the 80s, and 80s like geek culture. And I loved the first book. I hope to love the second book as well. And then I have lastly Legendborn by Tracy Deonn, and I've heard nothing but good things about this series. It's a YA series that takes place in modern day, but also harkens back to Arthurian times. And I think the main character is somehow related to everything that happens in Arthurian times. And the main character is drawn into this. I know that she is in high school, but she's doing a college program, and that she figures out that she has powers, and these powers do harken back to Arthurian times, and I'm very excited about that read as well. That concludes my Quaint TBR. I shall see you guys next time. Adios, gentle viewers.